When two nations are at war with each other, a general now spawns in the taverns. You can go up to him and enlist in the army to fight for your nation. He will then send you to the targeted enemy location, and if you get there in time, you will be able to fight along your fellow soldiers to take that location over. If you win, the castle or outpost will change its allegiance to your side, and if you lose, your nation loses the battle, whilst your enemy might have succeeded in their attack. The general can also give you a bit of an overview of the different wars and what locations they're targeting. Your allegiance is also noted in the nation info menu, and when you complete more war missions and get more reputable with the nation, you can be promoted to a higher rank. Honestly, the ranks don't mean much yet, but I think that in the future they will give you certain powers over people in the nation and make you more respected. It took me longer than I expected to add the allies to the game because I didn't think of that mechanic when I was making the enemy AI, so the pathfinding, targeting and reading of variables was all done specifically to the player object and profile, so I needed to make the AI more general and then apply it to allies and enemies. And I needed to implement targeting for not just one player but multiple different targets, plus conditions which allow an ally or enemy to switch targets, as well as specific ally behavior that allows them to actually go search for an enemy to fight instead of passively standing around like the rest of the AI does. But nevertheless, we now have basic allies and I can improve on their behavior until it's smooth. Now I'm going to list a few changes I made to how NPCs behave. First of all, enemy soldiers will attack you if you enter one of their enemies' locations. This makes a lot of sense. Second, more soldiers will spawn if a nation is at war. I also changed it so that not the entire list of NPCs is stored, but only the important ones. So tavern dwellers and soldiers can spawn at a whim. At a whim? At a whim. Whim?
Yeah, cool whip.
Cool Whip.
Cool whip.
Cool Whip.
Cool whip.
This mechanic was necessary for me to even spawn the general, because he only spawns under certain conditions of there being a war, and up until now, all the NPCs would have just, not changed ever. Thirdly, if you were deluded enough to attack an innocent civilian, everyone will come to their defense and attack you. Maybe in the future I'll implement some arrest mechanics so they won't try and maul you to death just because you prick someone.
Stop! You violated the law!
Now, in the last devlog I added road generation, and this time I thought we have roads, now let's use them. I added these travelers, which really are just colored pixels that move between locations on the roads. I can play with them and give them specific colors and have them go to certain locations depending on the nation's type. There's a lot you can do with just one pixel. Now, for next week I'm going to start 0.9. I know in previous devlogs I have alluded to the idea that 0.8 might be the last alpha version, but 0.9 is really something that I want to work on, and it's quite important and very fun. 0.8 was about nation dynamics, war, and armies. These three mechanics were hard to work on because the underlying system that creates conflict and nation behavior are all invisible, with many variables that the player doesn't know about and shouldn't know about. This, however, makes it also harder for me to work on and know what's going on. So 0.9 will be about something that's easier to work on, and I can get a lot done with it, I think. It will be about the player is going to include a complete redesign of the super old, and I mean absolutely ancient, loadout menu, which has been around since the earliest 2017 Game Maker days. And I'll make it look similar to the nation info menu, which I think is the nicest looking menu that I've made. And it'll have tabs like the loadout tab, quests, leveling. I'll maybe add skill trees, maybe. I have plans to give the player reason to actually go on those quests to progress in their leveling and their equipment. And I'll also want to redesign the inventory system so you can sort through the different items, so you can see what you actually have. I want to give the player more clarity on who they are, what they can become, and what they're doing, and what's happening to them. I want to have like a player status menu in the player menu that you can see like your status effects, so your global enchantments will be on there. And with that new inventory system, you'll also be able to drag and drop, and I think once I have that, it won't be very hard to implement merchants, like actual merchants. that you can buy and sell items to. So you'll be able to become rich, which is always something that's fun to do in games. Now, I hope you'll join me next week, and as always, I look forward to your comments. Leave a like, subscribe if you're not already, and thank you for watching. Anyway, that's all for today. That's all for this week. I will see you next week, and we'll see what progress we made. Okay.